Well, this one goes to Jesus, the Wizard of Woke. Cheers. Many people would like to reinterpret the story of Jesus to make it make more sense in terms of our modern world. And the idea being that Jesus is a revolutionary figure, someone who changed society so much. But that figure was taken over by the early church and transformed into some spiritual or divine being, which he never was. Our story goes back to Luke's Gospel, and in Luke's Gospel there is a lot of emphasis on poverty. In Luke's Gospel, Jesus very much comes to live in a poor situation. He's born in a stable to a single mother, and the marriage that follows is one that would be at best be called unconventional. In those days, his first visitors are shepherds, the poorest of the poor, and so on. When you dig into this, say many scholars, you can find a depth of teaching from Jesus which is very different to what the church normally subscribes to. It seems that Jesus is someone who is very critical of the rich, someone who is very much on the side of the poor. And when you look at scholars like Dominic Crossan, he started to unpack these documents, looking for other contemporary documents which he believed he found in what were called the Gnostic Gospels. And he also used something that's often accepted by biblical scholars, which is known as the Q source, which is a collection of the sayings of Jesus. And Crossan's point is that when you put all of these together, what you actually get is not the eternal life salvation Jesus of Christianity, but a revolutionary figure who we might in modern days call a social justice warrior. Someone who was keen and adept to change society. And Crossan's view is by no means unique. There's plenty of other people who also subscribe to this idea that Jesus is very much on the side of the poor. And certainly if you look at things like the parable of the sheep and the goats, where Jesus is talking about feeding the hungry and clothing the naked, and you look at activities that modern Christians take from that, such as working for food banks or working in poorer areas to help those who lack things, you can perhaps see a truth in that. Back in the 1970s, there was a strong movement in Latin America, which was known as Liberation Theology. Liberation Theology took these ideas of Jesus being on the side of the poor and Jesus being a social justice warrior, and they tried to change society. One of the most famous examples of this was Oscar Romero, who, as Archbishop of El Salvador, was assassinated by the then government because he spoke out for the poor on behalf of the teachings of Jesus and against the teachings of the established Catholic Church, which seemed to be on the side of the leadership. So the result is that Jesus himself seems to be a figure who is seized upon as a revolutionary, as someone that wants to change society, as someone who was on the side of the poor, was on the side of women, was on the side of the disadvantaged. He had associates who were tax collectors, who were generally ill-regarded in those days. Now, how true and how fair is this? Because it goes very much against what Orthodox Christianity teaches. There is, for example, in this teaching, no eternal life on offer. There is no path to salvation. What Christians call the atonement doesn't exist. Jesus is a revolutionary figure who is closer to what we would call a Marxist view or a political view. And when you unpack it and you read the writings of liberation theologians such as Leonardo Boff, they talk about not orthodoxy, the idea of getting the right belief and subscribing to those beliefs, which is what Christianity seems to do a lot, but instead orthopraxis, using the Marxist term praxis, that you should be, as a follower of Jesus, someone who wants to change society for the better. So when you look at modern social justice warriors, when you look at those who want to change society and make it fairer and more equal, what you're doing, in fact, is you're following the teachings of Jesus. Cheers. Hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Take care. Tune in again. Goodbye.